Hey everybody, welcome to this presentation. I'm going to be
Oh, do you want to do it
presenting.
differently?
Do it differently. I'm doing it
Oh,
right
okay.
here.
Okay, there you
Here's
go.
the first slide. How to grow how to grow. Okay, I'm going to start here in a second. Petra's just helped me get set up. Welcome everybody. Welcome to this presentation. Hey Petra, I am screen sharing. Here I go. And I have technical difficulties right away. Hopefully we can manage this and I can get through this. Welcome everybody. How to grow healthy organic food year-round that you can feel good about with our Yard to Food system by Gary McDougall. That is me, everybody, and I'm going to be presenting that to you today in today's workshop. First, I'm going to start with, for a couple of minutes, I'm going to tell you my story, why we ended up growing organic food year-round, how you too can grow healthy food on your yard, and share our Yard to Food system with you. This whole presentation is going to take under 40 minutes, everybody. I'm going to share it with you. And by the end, you're going to know how to convert your yard to a food system. So, hey, I'm Gary McDougall. I'm a husband. Petra was just here. We have 3 children, 13, 11, and 9. We've been growing food on our property for the past 8 years. I'm now passionate about helping you grow the food you love, and I'll show you why. But before I do, I want to acknowledge the land that we are on. We are on the land of the Coast Salish people. They lived here in a regenerative way, in a way that cared for the land, that brought back the food that they gathered, they hunted, they gathered their food, their clothing, their shelter, and they did so in a way that created a healthy environment for that land and for future generations. So that inspires me. That inspires the way I care for our land, and I encourage others to do similar. So I wanted to share that. And it inspired me so much that at one point I realized that I don't feel very food secure. What happens if there was a mess up with our system? You know, we've got all this food and that's great, but I don't see a whole lot of neighbors growing, and I know there's a lot of interest in people growing food. So we wanted to share it, and we put that out to our local community. And an hour later, we had a knock on the door from a guy who had read our post in a local Facebook site, and he knocked on the door and said, "I want to do a story on you." So he interviewed us, and he did a story. And I just want to point out that this isn't just about growing food for us as well. It's also about turning different areas of our yard or our lawns into meadows to plant, you know, native plants, to plant plants that attract pollinators, because we have to change the way we live on this planet if we want to survive as a species. We need insects to pollinate our food system. Most of our food depends on insects. So we can start and be a part of that climate and ecological solution right here in our yards. And guys, just to rewind a little bit, this is about 8 years ago. This is where it all started for us. It started from my wife. My wife was super inspired to just grow healthy food for our kids, to do something fun with them, that she could get out in the yard and get their hands dirty, play games, plant plants, grow food. And it was just so much fun. You can see in the background, my son's helping me plant, I think, some corn plants there. There's a little mushroom table that we built for them to have their little tea parties and have snacks. You know, my son and daughter here are over here playing in the dirt, planting things, and it was just so much fun. We did that for a couple of years, and our list of things that we love to grow just kept on expanding. It kept on growing. We wanted to grow more and more. And also at that time, we were inspired just to learn more about growing food. And in somebody's presentation, I saw a slide like this, where there was a strawberry field, and on that sign it said, "Danger, keep out." There's been pesticides sprayed on that field. And this concerned me. It concerned me because I grew up with a lot of skin issues. I grew up getting hives from the food that I ate. And I started seeing that in my daughter. And, you know, we would also go to the grocery store and buy things like strawberries, and they'd be red, but they wouldn't taste like the strawberries I remember from my childhood when we'd buy them locally from different farmers. So we just said, you know, let's do this. Let's grow food. Let's grow all that stuff that we love to eat. So we decided to turn our yard to a food system. I went over and knocked on my neighbor's door. He owned a bobcat at the time. 20 minutes later, he was doing this in our front yard, making an absolute mess. And not gonna lie, my wife and I were looking at each other and like, this is kind of crazy. Are we actually doing this? You know, and we were kind of worried that neighbors would think we were kind of nuts. But we were so inspired to grow lots of food and really expand what we were doing. So we just went for it. And it was a bit of a mess at first. So we saw an arborist go by in his chipper truck, and we asked him, could we have his chips? Because we really wanted to kind of cover our mess up, all that bare dirt and all the sod. We saw our neighbor put all that sod in the boulevard. We covered it all entirely with wood chips, and our kids just absolutely loved watching this get dumped, and they played in it for days as we spread it around. They loved their pile of soil and wood chips to play in. And you can see here, we just covered the whole entire property with wood chips, cleaned up the look really well, and then we eventually created the beds. And this is what it looks like just a month ago. Just early July, we took this picture. The corn is like doubled in size since in the last couple of weeks. But you can see that bare ground, that area that was once difficult, it was like cement in the summer, difficult to grow grass, is now producing so much. So I'm really excited to share with you how you could do that. And it's really simple. It can be really simple. And it's rewarding. I just have to say it's super rewarding. You know, we had our kids out in the garden. We were kind of picking things like pumpkins and squash and tomatoes, and we decided to stage this photo. This is a totally staged photo. The kids were out there, and Petra was starting to, you know, she started stacking things together. And she's like, let's take a picture of the kids, you know, eating beans and stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, if you're going to take a picture of the kids, let's put a chicken in the shot. So I went back to the chicken coop and grabbed some chickens and put it in the shot, and just to show you guys that we have fun with this. You know, it's a lot of fun. Yes, it's some work, but it's super rewarding. So I had to share that one. We started to see the bigger picture. It wasn't just chemicals that we were concerned about. We started learning about the desertification of our soil. So our soil is sick and broken. The slide says our system's a little bit sick and broken in a lot of ways. I'll get into that a little bit, but just let's start with soil. Because of industrial agriculture, because of tillage, because of chemicals, our soil is being desertified. I read a study that over 30% of farmable land in the last 40 years has been desertified. We can't keep doing things the way we're doing and expect to survive as a species. You know, these large concentrated animal feed operations, you see these cows, not good for the environment. Their waste is pollutant. The food that they're fed is highly polluted, genetically modified, sprayed again. And those pollutants from the animals, from the desertification, from the land that's running off, from the chemicals, from the synthetic fertilizers of nitrogen, are running off into the Gulf of Mexico. This picture in the top right is the Gulf of Mexico. And there's a massive dead zone there from all that runoff down the Mississippi. So I'm concerned about that. I have a hard time going to the grocery store. I have a hard time supporting a food system that's causing so much damage to our environment and our ecosystems. So what are we going to do about that? And also, it's not just ecosystems in the environment, it's also people. It's also small farmers. If you look over the last 50 years to 100 years, our food system has radically changed since the invention of grocery stores and big corporations taking over our food systems. What's happening is there's a flood of cheap food from all over the world because of free trade. And what that's done is we're basically subsidizing this system as taxpayers. We're paying it. We're paying for it to happen. These companies are making lots of money, and so many small farmers are struggling, and they're forced to, one, go really big, or two, get out. So lots of farmers, a large percentage of farmers, have been forced off the land and into cities over the past 100 years. So I just wanted to point that out, that this is for the farmers as well, this presentation and growing food, just to raise awareness about the local small farmer and how important they are to healthy ecosystems and just their general well-being and overall health. So we started this, we started educating people, we were hosting workshops, and we got another story picked up. A guy came over from the CBC, and he reported that Vancouver Island residents turn their yards into gardens and encourage others to do the same. This was post-COVID. This was in May, and you can see there's not a whole lot in the garden growing at that time. But us, along with us and many other families that were featured in this story, it was awesome. You know, we're telling our story. We're encouraging others to get out there in your yard and to do this. And it's super exciting to be featured in these things, guys, and telling our story and telling you guys how you can do this. There's 4 steps producing healthy organic food year round. We kind of broke this down into 4 steps. So I'm going to share it with you how you can do that. 1, it's making a decision. We made that decision years ago to do this, to start gardening, but also to expand it. And through that expansion, we got inspired, we were getting educated, and we're like, this is our thing, this is our jam, this is what we do for work. That was the decision we made. So if you haven't decided to expand or actually do this in your yard, at some point you got to make that decision. It's a big part, because along the way, you learn about how to make healthy soil. about fencing and how to keep things like deer and rabbits out. Irrigation, I'm going to share with you irrigation tips. These are all things that I learned along the way when we made that decision. And I'm going to share with you some tips to help you do this. And I'm also going to share with you this big basket of peaches that we got. We got this actually from our neighbor's property. We adopted this peach tree from him because he grew up in the Okanagan. He did not like peaches. He doesn't like peaches now because he ate so many growing up. So we get to pick all the peaches. We make him peach cobbler. It's something we look forward to every year. We've done this for years now with him, and it's a great community builder. And growing food is a great community builder. You meet great people and get to share these amazing things like peaches and peach cobbler. So to make soil healthy and to grow super healthy food, so it's really good to start with like 6 inches of deep soil. Like I said, the soil out front at our place was pretty hard when we first started. It was hard even to grow grass. We've added lots of soil, at least 6 inches over the year, and we continue to do so. Chickens, I highly recommend chickens. It's not for everybody, but we have them. It's the best thing we've done in our yard. They produce eggs, but they're also producing manure. That manure, we hot compost it, and we feed that soil. So we're taking waste things. We're taking things that people mostly ship away, things like leaves, grass clippings, and then manure from the chickens or horse manure, and we make big piles, and we hot compost that down, killing all the bad stuff in it, and we feed our soil. And feeding our soil, making the soil super healthy, makes the plants healthy, which gives me a lot of confidence in feeding my kids. And this can be simple, guys. If you have like lawn in the back and you don't know how to start or what to do, this was a friend of ours that hired us to come over, and we did a quick consultation with them. And they wanted to expand their veggie bed. They had some fruit trees back there. You can see fruit trees in the background, and they wanted to connect them to each other with veggie beds. So simple steps. I said, put down some cardboard, add some soil on top of that cardboard, and they went out and got some plants. Like 2 days later, they had this instant veggie garden where they're getting all kinds of production of things like, all their greens, their kale, beans, peas, tomatoes. They had squash planted in here, all sorts of stuff. I think some onions as well, lettuces, all sorts of stuff instantly. They made that decision. They made it happen. And I just wanted to give you an example of what hot compost looks like finished. This had leaves in it. This had grass clippings, all our veggie scraps. Most of this you can't see. This was composted only for a couple of weeks. We made this big batch pile out of all those free things that I told you about, all those waste things, and it makes the most amazing feed and compost for our soil, and our plants just love it. Not only do our plants love it, but they show by growing some awesome production like this. And when our kids see it, this is something that really excites me. I look forward to this all year. Our kids will look outside and they'll see something big like this squash. My son saw it and he bugged me for days to go pick it. I'm like, let's be patient. Let's let nature take its course here. It's not ready. It's not ripe. So I taught him, I get to teach him, like, how can you tell a squash is ready? When that top starts turning brown, it's finishing, it's curing, it's ripening. And so finally he noticed that the top had turned brown. He said, let's go get it. So we went out and got it. I think maybe I cut it off. It was so heavy, but he grabbed it. It was super heavy. I think it must have been over 10 pounds. And so I took a picture of him with it. And on the way in the house, he saw a cucumber. He said, let's get that too. So we captured that moment. And yeah, it was really fun. And we also captured this moment. This is something that we're pulling out of our garden right now. Lots of bowls of green beans. And I love green beans. The 5 of us here in our household all eat them. We try to grow things or encourage people to grow things that they and the people in their household will love. That way, when you grow lots of it, yeah, it's just great nutrition, and you can add it to your meals. We like to steam it or roast it with salt and pepper and oil. It's just so good. So with fertilizers, we look for signs that your plants need help. The yellowing of leaves or blossom end rot. Find organic fertilizers that don't harm you or the soil. We don't use synthetic fertilizers that does damage to the soil and the soil organisms. We want to bring that soil to life. We want to do it in a way that regenerates or brings it back to life every year with simple compost and organic fertilizers. That's something that we do every year. We highly recommend fish hydrolysate. We get it from a local person, Christina, at the Organic Gardener's Pantry. She's great. She has a wealth of knowledge. She can help you with your gardening questions. I don't know if she actually does that, but she helps me. And we always buy that fish product, it just turns the plants so green and they produce so well. I just love that product. So I recommend people go to her. And when you do, you get stuff like this. You'll find your kids in the garden snacking on greens. I'm kind of shocked seeing this picture, seeing my son out there. I think my wife must have taken this picture, but we find our kids out there all the time. They're super quiet. Sometimes I'll be working the garden and I won't even know my son's right beside me eating raspberries or eating greens like this. And it makes me, it's really satisfying to see the kids out there knowing where their food comes from, knowing what it looks like, and also eating super healthy, nutritious food. So with irrigation, guys, we used to hand water, but it got time consuming. So setting up irrigation, it was so easy that my 7-year-old could do it. It saves us hours in the garden. It'll save you hours. Plants get watered while you travel, and it's cost effective. So we usually go away every summer for 2 or 3 weeks, and the irrigation has saved us. We used to have a friend come over and water, and you can do that. But what I found was it's so hard to, unless you intimately know your plants and know plants, like some things would need a really deep watering, like tomatoes, and other things like new seeds of carrots and beets might need a little water. An irrigation system will take care and keep your plants alive while you travel. So you can be a super busy person, but things will still grow. If you give it that good soil and have a drip irrigation, which is something you can set up yourself, only cost us a couple $100, and it was so worth it. It easily paid for itself in the first year, just with all the extra production we got from all the things in our garden. So super worth it. And this just gives you an idea what it looks like. We lay it down in rows. Our beds are all 4 feet, so we put 4 rows of drip irrigation in. This is garlic emerging in the fall. The irrigation wouldn't have been put on. We let the rain kind of take care of the garlic, but I just wanted to put this in for effect to let you know what the irrigation looks like. It's a 3/8 inch drip line with emitters every 6 inches. We get all our irrigation from West Tech. They're super helpful. And if you take a picture of your system or draw a diagram, they will walk you through all the pieces that you need. And you don't need we have a computer controller in our garage to program this. You don't need one of those. You can set up a timer right to like the hose right the water outlet that comes from your house. Super easy to do. And they'll walk you through all the parts and pieces that you need. And this just gives you an idea of the size of our garden again. This is our front yard, and this is early on. This must have been the first year because the raspberries are so small and the corn are quite tall. So the raspberries are massive now and just create a big wall this time of the year. But this whole entire front yard is on drip irrigation, all our veggie beds and their perimeter where the blueberries and these raspberries all grow. So the drip irrigation takes care of all of that. But to be successful, you need more than just soil and water. You need to know when to plant the food you love. And we make this super simple for people. One thing I'd say is just that little bit of timing and know-how is some seeds only germinate when it's sunny and warm for a few days. So for example, I planted corn in the past, in warm weather in May, and none of it germinated. What happened was when I put it in the ground, it got cold and rainy, and then the seeds they don't germinate. What they do is they rot. So they need, some seeds like corn and beans need heat to germinate. This year we got them in the ground early in May because we saw that there was 3 days forecasted of good weather. Those 3 days got those seeds germinated, and all the beans, all the corn came up, and now we're getting production out of it. It's great. And some plants will die from temperatures too cold at night. So it's good to know not to get too eager. In April, when it's like super warm, it was super warm and dry this year. It almost felt like summer during the day. We were getting 20 degree weather, but night times were still getting frosty. They were getting, in the 4 degrees, and that will kill some plants like tomatoes if you plant them out too early. So it's good to know good timing to get good production. And if you get it right, you will get massive amounts of tomatoes. So I absolutely love this time of the year. We're starting to pick tomatoes now. And in salads, on sandwiches, it's just so great to get that kind of stuff from your yard and just have an abundance of it. And it's so much fun, so tasty. So knowledge, like I said, and know-how, doing this over time, it gives experience. And when you get that experience, you start understanding how to do these things. There's trial and error. There's constant learning. I still have failures. Our onions, I'll tell you, got a disease this year. I don't know if they're going to store, but they're bulbed up big. They look super healthy, but the green part got a bit of a disease. So I don't know if they're going to store. but maybe I'll do something different next year. If we see cold and rainy weather coming in like it did this year in June and July, maybe we can put a cover over it and that'll protect it. So you learn these things as you go, and I share that with people. And when you do it properly, you get stuff like this. Somebody was going by our garden the other day and they said, what's going on with your blueberries? They're producing so much. And they are. They've been in the ground for 6 years. We fertilize them. We put down the compost every year, and we get great production. And they said they only get a couple of blueberries off their plants. And I asked them, I said, what about your soil? How long ago did you plant? And they only planted them, this year. We didn't get production off our blueberries, like great production, until like the 4th and 5th year. So some things take time, but with that care, if you give it that right care, that good soil, that irrigation, you know how to prune it. I show all that stuff. I show people how to prune things and take care of all the things, and the timing and know-how. You will get great production like this from things like blueberries. So to give you an idea, if you had like 5 beds like we do, which are 4 foot by 12 feet, we have a lot more that we grow, but if you had something like that, you could easily grow 200 garlic that would worth from the grocery store at least $400 if you're buying like local organic stuff. And this is kind of the local organic price that we kind of put on these, because we stopped decades ago buying from overseas and stuff to the best of our ability. Potatoes, you could grow 100 pounds of potatoes. We've gotten 100 pounds the last couple of years out of a 4 by 12 bed, and that's worth about $200. 30 pounds of onions, which would be easy to do, that's worth at least $50. Greens, we pick greens. If you hit key planting dates, you could plant greens like Swiss chard, kale, collards, and then lettuces and spinach. You can have greens, all year long if you plant them 2 key times. And we get easily $500 worth of greens. If we went to the grocery store and got those, that kind of limp kale that comes up from California, it costs like $3 or $4 organic. And but we eat so much more of that. We would never spend this kind of money on greens just because it's expensive. We wouldn't eat it, but because we grow it for 12 months, you can eat so much of it and put it in your kids' smoothies and stuff, and they won't even know it. You can do that year round. Tomatoes, we grow about 100 pounds off a 12-foot row. That's about $200 worth. And then raspberries, we get so many raspberries from a 40-foot span. And those raspberries came initially just from a couple of canes that somebody gave us, and they just expand, they grow out. So you could easily grow over $1,000 worth if you had those 5 garden beds. And there's so many things that you can grow. This is just a list of things that we grow. And but there's so many things you can grow, and there's so much you can get and be eating year-round from your yard. So I hope you guys are excited about growing food organically year-round on your garden. We can kind of present this, and just to give you an idea, this is what we do in the winter. We cover things with row cover to keep it warm. Let's say if it's snowy or it's getting really cold, like below 0, we give it that little bit of cover, and that gives it like an extra 5 degrees of frost protection, and it really helps the crops. It's super simple, it's cheap, and it's reusable. This row cover, actually, you can see a hole in it there. This was a lightweight row cover that I used, and I don't actually buy this or would recommend that anymore. I use a heavyweight row cover, which is great. It's great for shade. It's shading some of our cold weather crops right now in this heat, and it also protects, it gives lots of protection against frost in the wintertime. And when you do that, you can see here, I'm drinking greens. I make a green drink every day, almost every day. And we get that from the greens from our yard. And we got this snow. I took this selfie in a snowy day. We got 6 to 8 inches on our garden. I was going to try to lift the row cover off the beds to see if I could protect the vegetables, but that snow was so heavy that I just left it there. And I thought like lots would die, but the only things that we lost from the snow and this cold and wet was some cauliflower kind of rotted, and we lost a few onions from too much water, but from sitting in water, yeah. But so many, like almost all the greens and so much survived, and we were eating. So guys, because we're doing this and we're offering all this information, I recognized that to help people, like we were doing workshops, and workshops were a great one-off and it would inspire people, but we felt like there was so much information that people needed. So we thought, how could we support people to turn their yard into food and be successful starting in their first year? We want people, if they're going to do this, if you're going to make that decision, if you're going to do the soil. If you're going to plant things, we want you to be able to harvest it. So do you want the satisfaction to grow healthy food year round for you and your kids? 2, do you want an amazing hobby that you do in your own yard? It's incredible that my wife and I get to do this together in our yard, growing all this food and doing that for our family. And would you like to increase your food production to get produce year round? Like I said, with proper timing and stuff, you can grow lots of food year round. So we created this Yard to Food membership, you guys, and we share our fun times. Like, I think I forced my daughter in this photo, like, you have to get out, come out with me. We're going to put some plants in the ground. My kids aren't super into it now, but this looks like about 5 or 6 years ago. She was out in the yard. She was helping me put in some, looks like collards. We were putting in kale. Obviously it was cold out. We have our toques on and stuff. This was probably early March, I'm guessing. And no, it was late March, because I would have started these from seed in February. This is late March. We're getting them in the ground, and yeah, our kids know how to plant things. They definitely know how to harvest. They know how to eat them, but they also know what a plant looks like, and they know how to put it in the ground and what healthy soil looks like. So it's really, really rewarding stuff. So in the membership, you're going to get to grow organic, healthy food year round. We're going to help save you the error, the trial and error, of help you to find success and satisfaction while learning. Have your dream garden and do it easily while having fun with a community growing in the same way. There's going to be some challenges too. I want to throw that. It's not all easy. There are some challenges and a little bit of heartbreak, like I was telling you about my onions. That broke my heart a little bit, but they're still tasting great. So, but we show affordable ways to grow food year round. Grow enough food to save a minimum of $1,000. I put that out as a challenge to people. Like, that's something that somebody could do in the first year if you had that 250 square feet. And you don't need that much. It's just a rough idea of what you could start with and what you could save $1,000 doing that. Oh, and the final thing, it says, save time and still get more food than you ever imagined. It's amazing. This time of the year, we are getting so many things. Beets, carrots, we're getting green beans, tomatoes, all kinds of squash coming. We're getting the berries. Like I said, there's so much coming, and it's super satisfying. So we created this Yard to Food system, guys, to show you that you can too grow organic, healthy food year round and feed your family with the food you feel good about. And I wanted to share this with you from Kirsty. It was amazing when I saw this. She had shared this, and some of the words are cut off. So Kirsty was just saying basically that she wanted to start small. She felt a bit overwhelmed, and the garden never amounted to much. But this year, she was really thinking about food security because of COVID, and it became really important to her. So she decided to give gardening another try. It didn't start well, but then she found Grow the Food You Love Facebook site. She said Gary's enthusiasm for growing food was evident, and so I booked him for a consultation. Gary managed to really simplify what I need to do to get my garden started and help me plan a garden based around the foods I love to eat. I've expanded my garden beyond my initial plan, and I'm thrilled by the success I'm having. Grow the Food You Love is about so much more than gardening. It's about community, regenerating the earth, sharing of ideas and knowledge, and respect for the land we live on are just some of the principles Gary discusses. I continue to learn so much from Grow the Food You Love. And that, again, is Kirsty Nickel. So honored to read that from her. And yeah, you do this and you get things like this. You get your kids bugging you for kale chips. This is Petra harvesting lots of kale chips. It looks like it's early spring. These have grown over winter, and they're just coming on strong. And yeah, we just get to eat this great stuff, this healthy food, and the kids bug us for it. It's so funny. They taste like better than potato chips when you roast them in the oven. And when you get home from your vacation, you might find things like this. Our zucchini plants in a couple of weeks that we were gone produced like crazy. And I told, we have friends, we have neighbors that love chickens. They look after our chickens. And I told them, pick the zucchini plants. We're going to get so many if you don't pick them. And I came home to this. I'm like, damn, they didn't pick the zucchini. But it turned out I asked them, and they actually had picked some zucchini. It just produced so much that we got some big zucchinis and made things like zucchini chocolate cake with this, where we had lots of roasted zucchini. So who can do this? Guys, if you have about 100 to 250 square feet to turn into food in your yard, anyone who's new to gardening or taking their garden to the next level and a desire to do something different. So how are we doing this? It's a 4-step yard to food system. Each season we focus on the 4 keys to making your food garden a success. Number one, it's rendering your yard. It's creating the change needed for your yard to have the foundation to grow food. It's taking the time to think about where that garden's going to go, making sure it's in full sun. What are you going to do about compost? Are you going to create your own compost and compost piles? And I walk people through how to do that. Or are you just going to buy really good soil? I buy some soil sometimes from Stanhope Organic if I don't have enough compost, and they're great prices. They deliver. So there is that option to save you time. Managing spacing, fencing. If you're in Victoria, you gotta get fencing. The deer are gonna eat everything. We put up a simple, inexpensive stucco wire fence, and that's kept them out for over 5 years now, and irrigation like I showed you. Feeding your soil is the next step. We do that. Usually after we take a crop out, we assess the soil, we'll feed it with either that compost or we'll feed it with stuff we buy. That's something you do. We do that every season, like I said, when we take a crop out. And planting your seeds, understanding when to plant seeds, how to get a head start, transplanting, the conditions needed to be successful, and receiving Gary's live guide, which tells you what needs to be planted and when. So guys, if this sounds overwhelming or there's a lot of information, I break it down simply, week by week, simple steps, and walk you through it. And we also do videos and stuff, so we'll show you instructional videos to take away all the guesswork, and yeah, we'll help you do it. Whoops. One back. Knowing how to take care of your plants so that the food you grow, so that food will grow from them. This includes trellising to save space, staking some plants, pest control, fertilizers, using row cover, pruning, and harvesting. Again, this is all organic. We go beyond organic. We go back old school, the way our ancestors would have grown, and manage the land and the insects and great soil in a really healthy and good for the environment, good for you kind of way. So how do we make this easy and doable? I encourage people to get out in the yard about 10 minutes a day to be able to do this, and a couple fun hours on the weekend right after a live Q&A together. We do a live Q&A, and I'll do that in the membership. And yeah, just to say, like, Petra and I will get lost in the garden. It's grow the food you love. When we're out there doing what we love and attending to that food that we love, hours will pass. I'm not saying you need that. You could use like a half hour on the weekend and 10 minutes a day, and you can grow so much food. Once you break it down into steps, planting like a tray of seeds to grow little starter plants only takes minutes. So if you just get the right timing and break it down into simple steps week by week, this can be done quite quick. We make it easy and doable with step-by-step instruction, like I said, where you're going to receive a weekly actionable in an email. So again, we break it down into simple steps. You take a couple of minutes every day. We always do the big jobs on the weekend. We have more time on the weekend. The kids are usually playing with friends in the backyard, or like my daughter. This is my daughter years ago, standing under a little hammock for the squash. And this was one of the decisions where my wife and I were just blown away. Where we came back from vacation, and the kids ran out back to check out the squash plant that they made the hammock in. And the squash had gotten so heavy while we were away that it was sagging right to the ground, and they were hooting and hollering. So we ran back to see what they were so excited about, and it was the squash that was almost hanging on the ground. And so it was fun things like that that made us decide to do this and really expand our garden. So we make it easy and doable for you guys with support, with full support and garden coaching the whole year round. We're going to include a monthly live classroom where we're going to get together online and chat about this stuff, chat about all your gardening questions, and get them answered and get you up and growing. So to be a founding member, guys, it's only $269 for the year. We're going to walk you through, like I said, with emails weekly to break down those actionable steps, have a classroom monthly, and when you break it down like that, it becomes so easy. So $269. And a founder bonus, we're going to say an extra month and early access into the membership. We're going to start this, officially start in September. We're going to get you started right now. We're going to start those tips, get them going right now. Again, only $269. Sign up by the end of today, and you're going to receive a free 1-hour consultation with Gary. I'm going to be honest, I'm getting kind of busy with this. We've had over 10 people sign up, and they're booking their consultations. I love doing this stuff. I love coming to people's yards, even in COVID. It's the healthiest thing we can do is be outside. It's easy to keep distance. It's easy to keep healthy and safe. And we can get you started and get you planning where to put your garden beds, where to position them, all the things that you can grow. We do that in 1 hour. There's so much we can get accomplished. And taking that 1 hour sometimes could save you thousands. And I say that because I've done consultations before where people spent thousands of dollars on their yard with fruit trees and raised beds, and they were doing it in a bad part in their yard. And I say bad because it was right in the south area of their yard. They had big trees that were blocking the sun, and they were never going to get the production that they had hoped for. So having a consultation can be really helpful for you. So it's easy to do, guys. Oops, let's go back to that last page. Just go to Grow the Food You Love if you want to sign up. growthefoodyoulove.com/membership. And if you go there, you're going to see this page. Just click on Be a Founding Member. If you click on that, you can pay with PayPal, simple by putting in your email and your password, all that stuff, your PayPal account. And you can pay either there with a credit card or a Visa debit card. Easy to do, easy to pay. Again, only $2.69, and then you'll get this thank you card or this thank you note, and it'll say you're about to join the Grow the Food You Love. And when you join that, just click on subscribe. And the reason you get subscribe is that's how the membership people are going to get special, very detailed information in their emails so that you can be successful. So once you do that, then we want you to put in your email address and print your name, because that's how you're going to get those emails. And then if you don't see them, if you're not getting those emails right away once you sign up, if you look here on Gmail, they have primary emails on the top. There's social emails on the top. Click on the promotions. This may come in your promotions tab. That's something I've lost things in my promotions tab before. You just click on that and that email may be in there if you're not seeing it in your inbox, your regular one. So again, sign up by the end of today and you'll receive a 1 hour consultation with me. And then once you sign up, join this Yard to Food members. We're bringing people in here already. This is where we share all that extra detail, guys, to walk you through the nitty gritty of growing lots of food and growing it year round. So founders get an extra month. You sign up again, you're gonna get an extra month. We're gonna start you right away. And just by joining that growthefoodyoulove.com/membership. Now, it says, why would I join the membership when I already get all the info for free from Gary or otherwise? You totally do not have to grow this membership. There's no pressure. I'm just here to offer a service. This is what I'm super passionate about. This is what I do for work. I do garden consultations, and I wanted to offer this membership because I know so many people are getting into food and getting into food growing. I just wanted to make sure that you could be successful. So you can be a part of a club. We're going to create community. We're going to share recipes. We're going to share our successes, maybe a little bit of heartbreak, and we can be there for each other. You know, if your onions get ruined and disease like mine, maybe I'll have somebody to talk to about that heartbreak. Seriously, I was pretty sad for a couple of days, but it's therapeutic. So we're creating a club here. We're creating community, sharing plants, sharing seeds, sharing expertise. It's really fun, and I wanted to create something like that because the satisfaction of sharing this with people and getting other people's expertise and recipes and stuff is super awesome. So what if you don't have time? You guys, we don't have time. Petra and I are super busy. We have 3 kids. We're running businesses from our home. Our kids are at school at home. So I get if you don't have time. Years past, for the 5 past years, my wife and I have coached baseball. So in the busiest planting season, busiest harvest seasons, here we are out every night almost at the baseball diamond with our 3 kids. So we understand. We broke this down into ways like easy, actionable steps. We know what it takes. Those couple of minutes a day you're going to need during the work week. And then a little bit of extra time, half hour to a couple of hours on the weekend if you want. We spend lots of hours sometimes because we love it out there. It's so therapeutic and rewarding. You will find time if you want to do this. What if you don't know how to do it or you don't know where to start? We're going to take away all that guesswork. We're going to walk you through step by step. Even if you've never planted a seed before, even if you've never planted a plant, we will teach you how. We'll have the videos. We'll give you the steps. We'll get you started. Especially if you sign up today, because you're going to get, if you get that consultation, that really helps because I can help position all the garden beds, see where I can read where your sun is and the sun in the sky, that is, and position your garden bed so you can get lots of production. So what if you're busy with little ones at home? We were busy with little ones at home. We started this when our youngest was 2. If there are any, you could do it with younger ones, like a 1-year-old and stuff. It is a little bit challenging, but you know, this is how our ancestors got here, right? They would have the little ones on their back and they'd be working in the garden and stuff. You could do that. and it helps to have teamwork. Petra and I work on this together. I do a lot of the early season stuff. She does a lot of the harvesting and cooking. So it's good if you're getting help with it. So what if you're nervous about the deer? Put up the inexpensive deer fence that we have. Trust me, it keeps the deer out. You will not have problems with deer or bunnies or cats. Cats used to use our garden as a kitty litter until we put up this simple fence. Keeps them out too. Again, sign up by the end of today. Get your bonuses. Get your confirmation. What if you think we have too much cold weather? We do have cold weather, but I showed you in this presentation that you can grow things. And if you're somewhere else other than Victoria and you get colder winters, like we just get freezing temperatures a couple of times a year the last few years, and we get snow maybe once a year. There was a 3-year period we didn't get snow. But what if you're under lots of snow? It is still possible to grow things in the winter, especially those cold weather crops like your kales, your collards, your broccoli, onions, things like that. They can get really cold. You will have to give extra protection. The row covers alone wouldn't be enough. Having like a hoop house with plastic over it, super inexpensive, easy to build. Stuff like that will help so much more grow and expand your growing season by months and months. So you can get so much out of building those types of things. So what if you like to travel? Again, you have that drip irrigation in, you get your plants in the ground, get them growing vigorously before you travel, and you can time all this stuff, and I can help you with that timing. You can travel. We travel every summer. Most summers it's like 3 weeks, but sometimes it's only been 2 weeks. Again, with drip irrigation, everything grew and thrived, and so you can still travel. What if you don't have a sunny yard? People have told us that. I had a friend who didn't have a sunny yard. They had Gary oak trees all over. They couldn't grow food in their yard. They tried for years, wanted to grow, needed a solution. I linked them with another friend who had yard, who loved what we were doing, but didn't want to really spend any time doing this. So they're sharing the yard now with that friend that needed a yard. So there are ways. If you open your mind to possibilities, there are ways that you can do this if you want to. So how much yard space do I need? Like I said, I would start minimum 100 square feet for something like this to really get your money's worth, really get enough production. But you can have less. I mean, you can grow in pots. I visited a friend of mine. He's from Cuba, great guy, teaching people how to grow in burlap sacks and pots. And he's getting so much production from his yard, and he had a lot of shade. So he was able to position different sacks, burlap sacks with soil, different pots in areas where there was enough sun, and he's getting all kinds of production. So what if I don't know if I can do weekly tasks in the garden? Like I said, you only need a couple of minutes a day, a little bit more time on the weekend. But it honestly, it doesn't, I planted out a tray of 72 plants the other day, under 5 minutes. Once you have your tags, and I'll show you what proper trays are, the proper soil to use in those trays, it only takes minutes. And then to put them in the ground, it takes a few more minutes. But again, we always find extra time on the weekend, so that's when we do our bigger jobs. But, it only takes a couple of minutes during the day. So live Q&A, guys, we're going to do that in this membership. By signing up by the end of today, you're going to receive that free consultation. We're going to start an extra month early, and we're going to be doing coaching once a month in a live classroom. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. And yeah, if you have any questions, personal message us, and we can help you. We'd love to see you. We'd love to have you as a part of this membership, and to grow this community of people growing the food you love and harvesting and eating so much great stuff. Hope to see you in there. Now I'm going to try to see if I can stop this.